Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing? How are we doing? Come on. Woo! It's 70 degrees out there right now. The Red Sox are winning. There's some tired eyes in the audience. So welcome to what will be the most compelling hour that you have here at FutureM. Guaranteed. We thought about changing the handle today to spend less time talking about technology and more debating and actually arguing about the future of where technology fits in. We have to separate these guys a little bit because in our preparation sessions, we have such diverse perspectives that there were some chairs thrown. So my name is Graham Nelson. I'll be your Phil Donahue for the next couple of minutes. The name of the game today is where we are with technology, where it fits into marketing, and what the future is. And as I said, we've got a colorful cast of characters here with very different perspectives. Let me introduce the panel. First off, Adi Das is the SVP of Technology at AMP. Adi brings the technical components to the conversation today, so he's going to represent the build side. We've got Liz Fogerty. Liz comes from the retail and shopper marketing side of the conversation, so she's going to be representing all things retail, all things manufacturing. Christine Ford is the Director of Consumer Marketing and Strategy at McGraw-Hill. She's going to represent the brand and the brand perspective. And we have Erica Ayers-Nardini, Chief Marketing Officer at AOL, who's going to be representing the perspective of the publisher and content. So at the simplest form, in 60 minutes from now, you all have a Bible as to what technology means for the rest of your lives. The rest of your lives, guaranteed. On how technology fits into your marketing plan. Adi, the first question is to you. Who owns technology? Who owns innovation?
So I promise not to throw chairs today. So it's a great question, and I think that as you know, I come from a startup and enterprise background. In the agency world today, we find that a lot of our customers want to embrace the technologies that we actually bring to them, be it something around big data or a social platform or a new application build out and even a process. Christine's on the client side. She had the unfortunate thing to be my client a year ago when we built this platform for her. And one of the things that we did then was we introduced the concept of agile development to her team and to our team. So in that case, it was a process of changing the way applications were built. And so, in terms of both the process of building, in terms of bringing technology into an enterprise, there's always a question of who owns the innovation on the enterprise side. We think that we do a really good job about bringing new technologies and new innovation into our clients' enterprise systems. The question of how to evangelize that innovation inside the clients or customers' enterprise is a question that always kind of keeps me up at night. Because here's an example. So we do work with one of the biggest European insurers, car insurers in the world today. And just recently, we went into their pretty archaic architectural platform, and we changed the whole thing around to give them the ability to develop applications in a rapid manner so that they could optimize and they could make performance tweaks to the sites that they show customers to get the most conversions from a lead and acquisition perspective. But we had to go through a whole 6-month process of changing their architectural viewpoint before we could embed this whole new technology in place. And it was, they needed our help, not only convincing marketing, but also beneath the CTO realm of the organization. So it took quite a while to get that there. If that process had been speedier, we would have gotten to a faster solution, to a more effective deployment sooner. So I know this thing, the process of getting into enterprise takes time, but it's something that we're getting very familiar with, and so we know where to check off the boxes when you bring new technology into a company.
In an agency environment, is it the responsibility of one person or the entire agency to own technical innovation?
I think today, given the way technology permeates our lives, from mobile to social and big data, et cetera, it is, every department in the agency, and I hate to use the word departments because that automatically creates silos, but I think every unit of the agency needs to perform from a technological perspective. So how is technology affecting their everyday operations and processes, both from a tactical and strategic level? So I think it's more of a permeating across the agency rather than just one department. And as the head of technology at AMP agency, I would love to see this permeation happen in a quicker, more effective manner.
Christine, you've worked with a lot of agencies in your life. Is what Adi says true?
I think, it's not just agencies that are able to work collaboratively and across. I mean, that kind of goes with everybody. And the more the brands and the companies that work with the agencies, that need to employ the agencies, understand how to work that way, the better it is. So, I'll do things like I teach my marketing people how to write user stories. It's not a traditional role for them, but I think in product development and understanding how technology works and how the agencies, the software development life cycle that they follow, understanding how that's done only helps us communicate better. So, I don't think it's exclusive to agencies to have that cross-department collaboration. I think it's happening everywhere.
Right. I just think it's not happening fast enough. So, we on the agency side, or we on the technology partner side, we want to push this technology to the forefront. We want to push it faster to get that marketing edge, to get that, the potential to convert, the potential to make more dollars from a top-line perspective. And so when we go into...
Even big company. I mean, McGraw-Hill Education is a pretty big company.
Sure.
And only, it's 100 years old, and it was big textbooks, and everybody thinks we're dusty textbooks. But, there's a huge push to go digital. I mean, we're not going to have any more print books come 2015 in the higher ed space. Right. We've drawn that line in the sand. So, and we've opened up a research and development office in Boston, specifically, hiring tech teams. So it is happening. I mean, if it can happen with us, it can happen with other companies. I mean, we all wear jeans now. It's a very, very different company than it was, even 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I think it is moving, and I think part of the agency's role is to, you're gonna get companies that need your help, that aren't moving fast enough. I mean, and part of your role is to educate them, to make it easier on you. I mean, it's hard to come in from the outside and tell a company how to do their jobs, but at the same time, if they've got the right attitude from the top down, it can really be effective.
Liz, talk a little bit about the retail marketing space.
Well, I can build a little bit on what Christine just said, because the reality is that from a manufacturer place, from the CPG community, and from the retail community, traditional channels, think grocers, mass merchandisers, in that space, the truth is they don't know what to do, right? They run on very, very lean margins to get sales, right? And the embracing of technology is something they certainly want to do. But as you said, I think that the onus falls on the suppliers, right? And and what I mean by suppliers is not only the people building the technology, but on the manufacturers to bring that technology into the retail environment, right? Because they need help in funding it. They need help in saying, this is going to work for you, or this is how you can use it, right? So when you talk about agencies being able, that we're a supplier, we're a customer service organization. We've got to reach out to vendors who know what they're doing, like an AMP, right? Who has this kind of backbone in technology, and bring it forward, because they're kind of an old school, old boys network in retail that is, throws their hands up and just says, I just need couponing, right? And they're not thinking about today's consumer and the evolution of such, right? Yeah, we want mobile, but they have no idea what that means, right? Or what that entails, or what that can bring to the table. So, to say who owns it, it's collectively owned in a sense, because there's a lot of levers that need to be pulled to make it happen in the retail environment. So, I think we all own it, right? And if we don't all change and all embrace the change and think about, which you're already doing at McGraw-Hill, thank God, right? Or you'd be just like all the other publishers. Wah, wah. So you need to be able to figure out how to make it work. And you need outside counsel to help you do that. I think organizations don't necessarily have it built in just yet in our space.
Yeah, I think it's no one and everyone owns it is the answer.
Erica, talk a little bit about the publisher side and who owns the technical innovation piece there.
I think it's a couple of things. I think the biggest thing I would say is that you have to put the pipes to work for you. it doesn't matter if you're AMP, if you're McGraw-Hill, if you're a customer service agency, or the 6th largest publisher in the world, which is what AOL is. No company, no publisher, no agency will be large enough to control and to connect with every consumer, every prospect, every brand, every marketer, every platform. And so what we really think about is, from a publishing perspective, is programming and pipes. So if you take a brand and a platform like the Huffington Post is the #1 source of news on Facebook. And the way that we've gotten to be the #1 source of news is we put Facebook to work for us. So we said 30% of our content, original, right? We're going to put writers and editors, we're going to have programmers, we're going to have the product development folks. 30% is going to be from a curated network. We're going to leverage the power of the web to create a web that's driving programming. And 30% are from people who have something to say. And so I think the big piece with technology is that technology and marketing and programming are inextricably linked at this point, and it really becomes a matter of how you leverage a platform to drive a connection, whether it's a brand to consumer connection, whether it's a consumer to content connection, or whether it's an agency to brand to publisher connection.
Liz, you brought up this idea that it's not necessarily on the retailers, or they're not incented to be the innovators in that funnel. So what brands are doing it well? What brands are helping enable a Target, or enable Stop and Shop, or enable?
It's interesting. I would have to say, to pick one brand would be very difficult for me in the retail space, because remember, Target is a brand in and of itself, right? So what we do is we put brands inside the house of Target. And what you'll see, and I'll give you one great example, Unilever's one of our largest clients. And what we were able to do was use lots of different, as I say, levers or tactics that allowed us to do it. But what Target wants us to do is build their brand through the technology space, their e-commerce platforms, their Facebook pages. And when brands succeed and they bring the dollars to the table and they tap into those areas inside the retailer, that's success, right? Because Target is pretty sophisticated in their digital space, right? And that's their social space, that's their infrastructure for e-commerce, that's just the marketing of how to go to market with these types of things. Other brands that do it well, I'm not sure anybody's really doing it that well, to be really brutally honest with you, in the CPG community. I think that there are forces to be reckoned with. I don't know if there's anybody from P&G, but P&G has made very in-depth investments in capabilities in the space. They've bought agencies and bought capability that allows them to do this. Just they realize they're not going to build it from the inside, that they needed to go and acquire the skill, right, and find these specialists that could build it for them. So they're all the manufacturers are in that space. I do think retail's a little step behind, but they're going to the manufacturers for the dollars. So I couldn't pick a brand. I really would have a hard time picking a brand. I do think that what we talked about a little bit earlier when we talk about the use of social media, and I think what you said is absolutely right in the fact that it's got to be partially original content coming from the owner, right? The brand, the publisher, whomever it may be. The curated piece of the conversation, I think that's the humanizing piece, right, that we keep talking about, and how do we connect the offline and the online and make it the social sphere or the connection to the consumer. That's the curated piece. That's the piece that people are going to react to. That's the people that say I relate to, right? There's the relevance part of that'll start the conversation. It's the Me Too mentality, right? And I think there's brands that are doing it or embracing it more. And I think the first step is really the two buckets that I see that are most prevalent are certainly the social sphere and the mobile sphere, and figuring out still how to make mobile work well, right, without kind of having people say I'm not interested or opting out of the conversation. So, and earlier today, Christina had something very profound to say, and was the fact that the social place is all about listen to me. Right? And how do we make it, and I've got an opinion and everybody has one, and how can brands embrace that? And that's when a brand can do that and they can do it well and reach the audience that they want to reach or get engaged with the audience they want to reach, that's when they're going to win. And the blogosphere, we in CPG are using bloggers to extreme extents to get reach, because these people are building personalities and they're building relational personas that say, I'm like you, listen to me, and things I like, you're gonna like, right?
There's a great example of that. L'Oreal, is anyone here familiar with Michelle Phan? Does anyone know who Michelle Phan is? Michelle Phan is a YouTube sensation, a how-to beauty. She's been on YouTube probably 5 years. She's maybe 19 or 20 years old. She does everything through her webcam, and the woman will tell you how to look your best if you want to vamp it up or be cute or bohemian or romantic or whatever it may be. You want a smoky eye, a red lip, whatever. L'Oreal was very interesting where they partnered nearly directly with her and with her channel on YouTube. About 2 years ago, they made a pretty massive investment with Google and with YouTube around Michelle Phan. About 3 weeks ago, they announced a line of beauty products, which are from Michelle Phan, which are only available on the web, which are distributed, marketed, socialized, entirely from a digital perspective, entirely from a personality perspective. So I think there are brands in that space who are tapping into tribes. The new Bobby Brown, right? The new Rachel Ray. The new Rachel Ray is not going to be made on the Food Network.
I also think it's one of the points I would argue is that it's also the path of least resistance. So your point about getting the pipes, using the pipes to push the Huffington Post content onto Facebook, and then using Facebook's piping mechanism to amplify that message is great. And I think it works in some part for brands and for brands trying to do the online, where brands have an online presence. I think where it fails is when you try to look at the offline, analog, in my opinion, world, and trying to connect that up to the digital world that we all live in. Because as you know, when you walk into the Walmart or the Target or the Stop and Shop of the world, you are not looking at your iPhone. You're going to do your shopping. Some of us may have lists. I have a list because I forget everything that my girlfriend asks me to get, but most people don't. So the ask of these people are, hey, pull out your iPhone and we'll send you notifications. That's a huge ask. Retailers haven't figured out a way to engage with these audiences in the retail store, in the analog world that we live in.
Let's see what happens once Google Glass comes out.
That's right.
So.
But and in my opinion, once we are able to figure that out, once we're able to transcend our messages into the offline analog world, that's when we've got this thing beat. So at this point in time, it's still...
I'm not sure I necessarily agree with you. I think there are absolutely instances in the retail environment where you're seeing the two converge.
Sure.
Right? And when you talk about the fact that people today want reward, right? And we talk a little bit about this. So when you put something... Look, there's a program, I don't know if anybody here is from grocer or any kind of environment like that, but Safeway has a program called Just For You. And it's a straight-on digital couponing, and everybody's like, you're crazy. Your shoppers aren't going to do this. Let me tell you something. This thing has exploded, right? And they took this online digital download. It's the same action as clipping a coupon, except it's been now downloaded from a digital perspective. And they grew it. And you can't do anything inside the Safeway chain of stores without having some Just For You component. Well, that was well and good, but that's one tactic, right? And what's it really? It's just a coupon that now has a digital component. So manufacturers came in and said, it's not enough, right? This isn't doing anything for our brands. All you're doing is putting $1 on the table, and now they're using their phone to swipe it versus handing you a piece of paper. So now what they're doing is expanding the conversation around Just For You to be a hyper-local, tell me what you want in my stores, tell me the assortment, and do I have the right products? And they're using it now as a connection point, right? So while it might not be in your face, right, that this is happening, but they're building out this kind of very serious strategy about how their stores are going to be constructed based on the conversation that started online with a coupon, right? And now they're bringing it out into their experience in the store.
Right.
So I think there is things happening. I don't think it's in your face. And when we talk about, we talked a little bit earlier about near-field communication and RFID and the ability to intercept and disrupt in the stores, that's coming. It's happening in pockets. It's happening in tests. It just gets very expensive, right? The capital investment in putting these types of technologies in stores are too much. So they tend to go to the traditional places, like the AOL that can give you the reach, right? But you've got to connect it in the channel.
I think think the other piece that's interesting, we did something interesting with Chevrolet. We have, one of the brands we owned is TechCrunch, which is a top 3 thought leadership brand in the technology and startup venture space. And 3 times a year, we have an event called TechCrunch Disrupt, and it's all about disruption in technology, disruption in the startup ecosystem, and actually about cultural disruption. And the flagship event was in San Francisco. We had it in July of this year. The brand that we brought to life at Disrupt was not a technology brand, it was an automotive brand. And what was interesting, Chevrolet wanted to be known for having the technological car of the future. They are going to pioneer the connected car. And what was interesting for them is it required a pretty significant leap of faith in how they thought about marketing a car, how they thought about a programming franchise, which started as a digital franchise with a digital publisher, but transcended into a physical event. But it's also interesting where it raises a lot of practical challenges whereby, you know, the biggest challenge that Chevy had at Disrupt was that the battery died by 3 o'clock every day because people are flipping the lights and playing with the connected car, and you can't turn a car on in a green building in San Francisco. But it's also interesting how they are starting to think about physical experiences that are programmed experiences that they themselves are programming physically from the technology in the vehicle, but also in connecting, you know, test drives with startup employees at a technology conference in San Francisco that parlays to car configuration on Chevy.com, et cetera. So it's the ecosystems that are created through technology are becoming very curious. And some of them are becoming very linear on the coupon to the store, to the purchase, to the upsell, to the cross-sell. And there's others where I think the brands that are embracing this convergence of marketing and technology are challenger brands who have to drive a breakthrough experience in a very cluttered, crowded, competitive market.
Yeah, and I think it's a great example. I think Ford used to be the leader with the technology-driven car, but now with the Teslas being, you know, you basically have an iPad in your car. But I think and I'll talk about this a little more if Graham asks me the question later. But the fact that you now have sensors and client devices that are so powerful and computationally powerful, and the ability to transfer large streams of data back to a central, you know, analyzing machine makes it even so much more powerful. The device that I have in mind right now is a Nest device, which you can set up in your house, and it actually you know, is able to make your you know, your energy bills much more you know, manageable. And it basically does that because it's a very computationally heavy device as it is, and then it is able to transfer that data back to a central server that you can then access. So in as those devices permeate our lives, I think the fact that we can then get data from these extraneous sources, then analyze that data, and then make decisions based on that data will become even more larger.
So you've got agency side folks in the audience, you've got brand side folks in the audience. Each one of your organizations right now is either undergoing a transition or has completed a pretty big transition. Philosophically, what's your advice as to how we've got people in the room that say, I've got 15 employees who just don't understand it. They're not researching it, they're not investing in technology. Do you clean house? Start all over again? Do you spend the money and invest? Talk about the philosophy about how you're going to get those folks philosophically to at least 1.0.
Right.
Well, McGraw-Hill, you know, is education. So I think we want to educate our own employees. So we won't just, you know, throw them out the door because they don't know this stuff. They have a lot of qualities and information that's, you know, that goes back many years. You know, we've got people who are experts in their area of developing textbooks and developing the content that actually educates the rest of the world because we're global. So we certainly believe in educating, and we keep our employees. You know, we really work hard to make sure that people are trained. So we have task force, and we have a big investment from our HR department as far as you know, WebExes and webinars. There's always something going on. I'm always getting invited to something. I would say the onus is on ourselves as employees for our career to make sure that we're up with technology and that we understand what's going on and that we read TechCrunch. who I'm a huge fan of, and I read all the time, to stay relevant, because that's with any career. But employees, I mean, companies do have, you know, a need to make sure that they educate all of their staff. And if it's not a right fit, if they can't get it and it's just not for them, then yes, then there may be a reorganization needed. But that would be the last step, you know. And the nice thing that I've noticed, now I've worked at startups, and I was, you know, a year at one company, a year at the next, and I learned from every place that I went. But I will say that what I see differently about McGraw-Hill, and when I was at Disney, same thing. I mean, you're 5 years, you're still a rookie there. And there is a lot of historical knowledge that's really, really important, and it's a real asset at McGraw to have this. So I certainly wouldn't just toss people out because they're not getting it right away.
There's definitely a demand side of this equation. So we get a lot of clamoring from our customers and our clients and our brands that they want the latest advancements in mobility or in big data analysis and cloud computing, et cetera. So with the demand comes, you know, the need to fulfill from a supply side. So you know, I think we've done a pretty good job at AMP trying to organically grow innovation and technology advancements within the organization. And it's definitely a difficult proposition, because organic is slow and organic takes time. But you know, I think the core message to the company and to different departments, to people within the company, is that technology and innovation leads the way to better business, to more ROI for our customers and our brands and our products. I think that message is heard. And you know, and people do the right thing in terms of reading the tech crunches of the world, but I think more importantly, understanding what their customers and their clients want, and are able to evolve to that next level. You know, I think today, for instance, most of our clients, you know, can you build us a microsite, or can you build us a site? But the real question is, you know, shouldn't we be mobile first? Shouldn't we actually be thinking about engaging all of our brands' customers on the mobile platform? And one of the things I realized when I joined the agency world at the beginning of this year is that that's the second step. Really, that should be the first step, and this should have been a year ago. So I think we are evolving, and we're transitioning to a place where technology is not like this thing that you use. It just permeates the business that you do.
Well, you know, one of the responsibilities of an agency, I would say, is when a marketing director or somebody comes to you and says, build me a microsite, or
Right.
I want to be mobile, you don't just go build a microsite. You want to ask the question, why?
Right.
Why do you want it? You know, and that's part of UX. That's part of saying, okay, let's do a little psych here and figure out what it is, what goal are you trying to achieve, what problem are you trying to solve.
Yeah.
So maybe the microsite isn't the right answer.
And it's interesting you asked that question, because, or you point that out, is one of the issues that we face a lot of times is that how much money does a client want to put up in terms of the quote-unquote discovery period? You know, how much work should we do to actually figure out what your brand is doing today in the marketplace, how technology is being accepted by your consumers and your customers. That takes, you know, time and money. And a lot of our customers want to go, you know, just get this thing done and move on, hoping to get the rewards that they theoretically think this new microsite or this new site will get them.
Erica, you've spent some time in big technology-driven companies. I half expected you to bring a couple of those free 100-hour AOL CDs today.
I've been waiting for that.
How do you shift it? How do you get the team to refocus?
I probably would be the most aggressive on this panel saying that you have to be ruthless about talent. AOL has had a massive turnaround. If you think about who we were and what we offered 10 years ago, yesterday we announced that we unseated Google to be the #1 player in video. Google is rarely ever unseated, and for AOL to unseat Google is, you know, not the headline anyone expects to see in the digital realm, or certainly anyone who's been around for a while. We're incredibly aggressive around talent. We have architected nearly a 180-degree DNA shift in terms of the type of talent that we recruit and hire. I'll give you 2 examples. You know, when we look at talent, We look at talent who comes out of companies that are video-driven, companies that are technology or data-driven. One of the things that you see a lot of in the digital ecosystem are people who come from traditional display companies, which AOL is traditionally a display-driven company. We're evolving from that. But you have to be very aggressive about nurturing new talent. We have a partnership with NYU. I would say one of the most talented people on my team is a 22-year-old who does nothing but mine social media and social media data all day long. You look at the Huffington Post. The Huffington Post has a fellowship program where 10,000 college seniors apply every year and 300 get fellowships. Those 300 get down to 2 hires that we make to be full-time writers, editors, curators, programmers, you name it. So, what we really believe is that the turnaround is going to be driven through human technology and human perspective. And when we think about our product is connecting brands to humans and connecting humans to ideas. So being at that epicenter of the mediums that consumers care about and the topics they want to engage with, we have to have people on that pulse. And if you can't fake it.
Well, the one thing I would say, so AOL, and they're known for their turnovers. They've definitely, and I definitely don't want to give the impression that we want to just hang on to people that aren't. We are actively, aggressively looking for talent all the time. That's why we, built this office in Boston, because we're close to MIT. But what I caution against is the Jesus Christ effect, and I've seen it happen where it's a big company like, oh, we need to get digital. Let's go hire somebody that knows a lot about digital, and they go and they hire this guru who and they bring somebody in from Google. They'll bring somebody from Google. They bring some big tech name. And they put him in, and then he does what he thinks he's supposed to do, and then he scares the crap out of everybody. And they, wait, you're moving too fast. And the next thing they do is they crucify him, So companies have to be ready to, when they want to change, they have to have the gut to actually do it and stick by, make that decision and invest in that technology and that person, give them the proper team and the proper budget and what they need to do, and stand behind them when they have to make some tough choices. So yes, aggressive. If you've got people that just aren't cutting it and they're not making it, then yes, you have to get them out. But you have to also give it a little time and support and nurture, because I've seen it happen so many times, and then you just get into this spin cycle where they get that guy out. He wasn't the right fit. We bring somebody in, and then it's a new press release. Same thing happens all over again, and they never get anywhere. So.
Anybody have Jesus Christ effect on their panelist
Can we-
bingo card there? No?
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Please.
We're talking about ourselves a lot, and the reality is technology and 80, forgive me, and building this and pipes, and I'm like, what? I'm a marketer, right? And what's going to make me win is understanding who my consumer is, okay? So, you have to be unafraid, right? There's a lot of bright, shiny pennies out there, and don't chase them all down, right? Look inside and say to yourself, I'm a buyer too, right? And find the things that your organization can affect, and then go try to find the best ones doing it. And learn from them. If you're in an agency environment, find the best and introduce them to your clients, right? Think about your shopper, your buyer, your consumer, right? And take it back to the fact, and I think you keep saying this, Erica, right? It's about understanding. If you're going to have everything be rebuilt around the consumer and about what they want and how they engage and who they talk to and where they are, then take a step back and think about that in the technology space. Don't worry about the programming in the building, sorry. Don't worry about who you're hiring. Take a step and think about it for yourself, right? And technology doesn't have to be a big, scary, dark hole of people who have Jesus Christ complex, because sometimes you hire them and they actually do believe they are the Lord and Savior of the world, right? Do we say Zuckerberg in this room or no? Okay, but the truth is, go out there and find it. Be unafraid to try and test and learn, right? Because it's rapid fire. It is rapid fire. And for us, we obviously have technology in our organization, but the truth is, you gotta try things. But go to your core of who you are and who you're servicing, and find out what they want, right? And then find the solutions that around them.
So I want to add also that one thing that's really important, to understand is that you will never own all of the excellence around all of the technology that's available out there. And so it's really important to go out and find the areas of excellence and then leverage those, right? So Erica mentioned using the Facebook plumbing as a way of using that to leverage their Huffington Post coverage. But at a level, at our agency, we know that there are some of our customers want expertise in CRM, and so we go out and reach out to CRM experts, and then we are able to organically understand and organically learn some of these new technologies. We work with guys in Columbia who are on the Ruby on Rails development team. And so, when we have a Ruby on Rails project, we know that having an advisory person, advising us as to a build of a project from Columbia actually is helpful. And so, do not always, there's no reason to always want to build out all of these areas of excellence in your company because it's just not practical and it's just too expensive. But certainly having the wherewithal to go and resource these sources of excellence, as well as understand that as a group, using all of the collaboration methodologies you have today and all of the cool communication tools that you have today, you can actually work as a unified team, even though you may be dispersed around the world.
So quick note, if you have questions for the panel, hit up the hashtag face-to-interface. We're monitoring that, so you can submit one. We'll hopefully get it up. Let's talk about the future for a second. Let's talk about things. It wouldn't be a technology conversation if we didn't talk about Google, talk about the tools that they have.
Right.
What is the group's reaction to Google Glass? Is that the next best thing?
Well, I had them on fairly recently, and they're fun. I think it's a little bit of GoPro. It's a little bit of checking your email. I think they're still building apps for it all the time. It's still very new. There's only 1,000 of them out. So it's cool. It's cool technology. I like it because I don't have to walk around, running into traffic anymore with my phone. You can actually see things. So I think it will still help in the retail space. If I have this augmented reality look of a store where if I could see the prices from standing here, maybe or a little more information in my. Well, maybe I'll just sit on my couch when I want, and I'll be in the retail space when I want, instead of wandering around aimlessly trying to find something. At least it'll pop up right in front of me, and I can get my job done a little more efficiently. So I think Google Glass and anything else that comes along. The point is you have to test everything. You have to keep on top of it. You need to know that it's coming down. Right now we're on. You get our Learn Smart Advantage is one of our products. It started out with just our shop. Now we're moving into Chegg, and we're moving into other platforms. But they're still regular distributors. Could be on Xbox, could be PlayStation, where the kids are. There's really all these delivery systems out there that didn't exist years ago that we have to constantly stay on top of and see who's winning. Get in, keep an eye on it. Don't just get on the bleeding edge and jump on every platform. But you always want to maintain that level of understanding of what's going on in the market.
Liz, you're shaking your head, and they were throwing chairs in the prep. So
Yeah.
just to be clear. Rudy's getting along very nicely today now.
Look, I'm just, maybe you're all getting the vibe from me that I'm the naysayer, or I'm the real late adopter, right? So, Google Glass is cool, neat, awesome. I actually can hold my phone in my hand and be perfectly happy. I can actually use my thumb and my finger and get to where I want to go. And I'm just a little apprehensive about, I don't understand the practicality of some of these things. Why? Why do we need it? It was built in a room because he thought it was cool. Am I wrong? I don't know.
want a chip in my iris.
You want a chip in
your iris? I want to go with that. No,
Yeah,
I
shoot.
really
Well,
want that.
that's a good question though. What was the brief for the product team at Google when that came up? What was the brief instead of simply just pull it out? Isn't it about data?
So my point is going to be that it's about, at the end of the day, it's about data, and how you're able to capture this data is going to make you, is actually going to be the winning proposition here. So I think with Google, and I compare Google and Facebook all the time. I think that, Facebook has an advertising model and they have an advertising platform, and so does Google. But I read a Great Forrester report a while ago, which talked about how you have intent and then you have affinity, and Facebook is all about how people can show intent. So you can say, I'm interested in something, but it's really not engaging with a product or with a brand. Google, on the other hand, has different sources of getting this information. So be it YouTube or be it Gmail, which you all know, there are 500 million emails in Gmail every month, and Google, we know, parses and analyzes data and shows you ads and other things that are related to your email. Google Now, which was an offshoot or maybe very integral to the whole Google Glasses project, and the minority of you who have, sorry to judge, but the minority of you who have Samsung or Android phones in this room might be using it today. Or actually, iPhone has Google Now too. But Google Now is great because to me, as a frequent traveler, et cetera, it tells me about my flight, it tells me about delays, it tells me about traffic patterns, it tells me about my stock options. I can go on, but it tells me all that in a way that it is predicting what I want to do. So rather than me having to enter these signals in myself into my Yahoo calendar or AOL calendar,
How
it's
much
actually,
is too much, though?
It's
This is
actually,
what
it actually predicts, and therefore, in my opinion,
When is it over?
I'm
at
it's
the
never,
end of the
it's never
internet.
over.
I've reached the end, right? Look,
think-
I love convenience, and we are a world of convenience, right? Everybody wants things that are easier, make it easier. I'm time stressed. I'm da-da-da-da. Right? I get it, but how much is too much? How many people in this room use data every day
What every day?
for work? Maybe a third of the room. That's fascinating, right? We have data overload. We have analysis paralysis, right? Because we can't get to we don't do enough work to say, and I'll beat the drum, right? We don't do enough work to say, what is it that I need to know, right? What is the silver bullet, I guess? So we have so much data. And my question is, how much is too much? We keep getting into this, right? And, great, make cool products. People will buy them because they want them, right? And yes, there's applications down the road. I just get to the space of like, how many more questions can I ask before I get to an answer? And data does that. Data can and this is the whole big data conversation too, right? Is how can I funnel it? And we've talked a little bit about that. Years ago, it was so expensive to get to all of that information. And what the world is doing today is making it easier to get to it, right? But how much of it do I need? And that's where I just keep rolling my head, try to get my head
I
around.
think the thing with Google, though, is if anyone's following it, this morning, their stock price is over $1,000 per share. Like, Google is crushing it. Their earnings are up 15%. Like, it's insane what that company is doing. And I mean that in an amazing way, because what I think is powerful about Google and Facebook and Amazon and the titans, which will drive the seismic shifts in our business, is that it's not feature-driven and there's feature overload. It's platform-driven. And when I'm in my Gmail and I see an ad that's relevant to an email that I sent 2 days ago, I may feel creeped out, or
It's
you
the
just
collective.
saved me a shitload of time, because here's the
Get
ad
over
that's
the
something
creep
I
out,
wanna
yeah.
do. So I think that's the big piece from an AOL perspective that we're trying to feed into, which is, and we ask ourselves as it relates to your question, Graham, to the future, which is, the question will become, so now what with the platforms versus the sifting of the features? And that's a big delineation for people, for companies, for agencies, for brands.
And the thing is, everybody forgets the analysis part of the data. There's data, you can vomit data all day long, but you need to be able to interpret it. You need to read the tea leaves. So you have to invest in people that understand, this data, and not just, we know more. Now I have another point because it gets confusing and over. That's when you hit that point of overload, like, now I've actually got the data. What do I do with it? How much do I need? Forget it. I'm going to move
And
an
I
island
want
of
to
Tahiti.
also, just not to beat the drum of Google, but they've done a great job with Google Analytics, and today most marketers will rely on Google Analytics for all of their reporting and analysis needs. To Liz's point, I sympathize. The analog world of retailing, it's very difficult to sift through reams of spreadsheets. At the end of the day, you have these effing spreadsheets and spreadsheets. It's spreadsheet overload, and who wants to look at these spreadsheets and you can't make head or tail of them? So
You gotta have something better than
it's a question.
spreadsheets. Really?
To me, it always comes back to how do we bridge this gap to the analog world? Because we're doing it pretty well on the digital side. We understand how to use Google Analytics to the max, and we have other cloud data services that give us everything we need. But on the analog side, we're just not there. We're decades behind where we should be.
So you've got You've got marketers of all shapes and sizes in the audience. You've got big brands, small brands, B2B and B2C. Each one of you undoubtedly has relationships in our industry that you value the most. I've heard Google and Facebook mentioned 10 times in the last 8 seconds. Who are the most important relationships that you have as it relates to business partners for innovation?
AMP agency.
People, consumers. That is our most influential person in innovation. They're going to tell us what they want and how they want it. We've talked about this, right? That today consumers are being sought out to help develop products, not just technological products, right? The consumerization of technology, but physical products. You know, we talked about the fact that, I mean, you are powerful people, right? We all are. We turn it on and turn it off, right? You are in such complete control of the conversation that, as far as I'm concerned, it's consumers that are driving the conversation. And when we talk about rebuilding around people, you bet your ass it's happening, right?
So
it's happening everywhere.
As it relates, though, to your strategic planning function,
Yep.
how often are you, how are you gathering that information from the customer? What are the tools that you use to actually gather that?
Well, it's certainly technology, right?
So
Like we
it's-
go out and have conversations. We actually still talk to people, if you can believe it. Stand in front of them and have a conversation one-on-one. It's when you're going to get your most honest bit of information. Sometimes, in a black box situation where you're seeking out information, you get honest answers. Certainly in communities, you get really honest answers. Social listening, huge, right? Understanding what they're saying to each other, not necessarily to you. And facilitators that can drop in kind of and be a part of the community and be authentic and trustworthy. Lots of information coming out of that. You know, but we still do traditional analog work.
And this is where the chairs get thrown, because I completely, you know, I say this to Liz all the time, is that it's just not a scalable model.
Right.
Because how many conversations are you going to have, and who's going to sift through all of that, you know, analog data to like actually come to conclusions that are going to benefit your customers?
Well, you don't need hundreds and hundreds of people giving you information in
So
that
it's still-
regard. You do
it's-
focus groups and you do
Sure.
testing and you sit down and we go out on campus and we say, look at this thing we're building, what do you think? And we actually go to students and say, tell me what you think. We have ambassadors, we have 80 student ambassadors. We throw stuff up to them. You know, we have a community board that we talk to them. We, you know, for us, you know, McGraw used to think of the instructors as the end user, you know, but they're really just the facilitators. It's really the end user is the student. And the students are going to tell their instructors whether or not they really like this product. So, you know, so we focus on them more now than they ever thought they would have, you know, before. But now we really understand them.
Right.
And we're getting...
I think, though, that, Graham, the question's actually flawed. No offense, but I can say this as a fellow Colby College alum. Is that the people who are going to win, be it a brand, be it a publisher, be it a service company, are the people who can create the most seamless plugins. Like, none of it is finite. It's not a finite number of best partners. It's how many possible partners can plug into your platform, distribute your platform, connect with your consumer.
Go the other way with the API, with affiliate marketing.
Completely.
Yeah.
Same with when you think about campaigns, right? Like, I think one of the craziest things about marketing, digital marketing in particular, is the continuation of a campaign. Because it's a campaign is a TV and analog-driven structure. You needed to get to X number of GRPs, you had Y amount of budget, and you had a seasonal flighting. And when your money ran out, your campaign ended. But the reality is today, I could be looking for an iPhone. Maybe the campaign ends on March 30th, 31st. I still may be looking for an iPhone on April 1st. I could be looking for pretzel crisps. I could be looking for, and it's not, that's why the plugin and the API and the scaled connection is so important, is because it is anytime, anywhere, any place, any medium.
But when you want it.
And when I want it.
Right,
And
so
you're
that's the
smart.
beauty of it, right? Is
Exactly.
that you're saying, you got to be in all places. It's hard, right? I want to be in all places all the time. So whenever they actually say, ooh, I need a snack, I need a pretzel crisp, right? They can go and find it, right?
Yeah,
and
so
they
I-
can go and find the right pretzel crisp.
Erica, just
Agree.
real quick, Adi, do agencies and brands get that right now? You've been on both sides. You've been in general agency. You've been in publishing. in your time in both places, are agencies thinking the way that you're talking right now?
Some are. So you look at, one of the massive trends that media agencies are looking at is programmatic buying, right?
Yeah.
Programmatic buying will be an epic change agent in the next 3 to 5 years for digital media, which is how do I put my data, my dollars, my strategy into a system which enables systematic deployment at the most efficient rate, at the highest scale, with the right frequency, with the right overlays of data to drive the right response. So some agencies look at, Liz mentioned P&G. P&G has a tremendous infrastructure they are building. Look at Kellogg's. They are building tremendous infrastructures to connect with audiences on an ongoing basis in very mass ways and very niche ways. Some don't. Some brands want I want to run from December 1st to December 15th. I want something that's highly custom. I want a microsite with that. It depends on the category. It depends on the marketer. It depends on their tolerance for risk and mess. But I would say by and large, the move to platform-driven digital media, and we look at it as the barbell, which is scaled performance-driven solutions and scaled marketing solutions. It's tipping towards more scale, more uniformity, and more bulk movement that plays itself out in really niche ways.
All right, so we're staring about 5 minutes left here. As you think about innovation and technology, and you think about bridging the gap between these two, and you're building your marketing plans, what's the recommendation that you're giving to the folks in the audience about how they're going to build their 3 and 5 year strategic vision plan and where technology fits in?
So I think that what Erica was saying about the question was flawed for sure. If it's not who is your innovator, it's like what is your what do you leverage? And actually, at the end of the day, it's the platform, and the agency or the entity that can leverage this ubiquitous platform for all of the service needs that they have, be it from a programmatic buying strategy or tactic, to flighting, to a social or e-commerce, is the one that's going to win. So I would say, building a technology hub within the company, or actually making sure that your employees imbibe that culture, building resources for these points of excellence across the platform, and then plugging in or integrating with various aspects of the platform, in my opinion, would be the winning winning solution.
I mean, my recommendation would be getting your marketing people to understand your technology people and vice versa much more. I think
That's never going to happen.
it's the AV squad. Hey,
Just kidding.
the AV squad meets yearbook,
Right.
finally. I mean, I teach a grad course at Pace University for publishing professionals about product management, and I do have slides on how to deal with tech people, but how to piss off a tech developer in one step.
Kick us when you're down.
No, it's good. It's good stuff. So, my point is, I'm always educating my marketing staff on, this is how you write a user story. This is, this is the process. This is what a project manager does. And, it's getting down in the weeds, but I think the payoff is that now they can actually communicate. Because I think the missed opportunity is we have these big ideas and we have these big visions, but we can't speak the language that you guys have, so we can't get it to you. And there's it doesn't probably happen so much in software companies, I would think, but it happens in other companies that aren't traditional, that aren't used to having a software team working
Right.
down on another floor.
Yeah.
So I would say that I think that needs to be a component in your, you can have all the strategies in the world, but the really frustrating conversations, I've seen them happen, are these two intelligent sides having conversations and just not hearing each other. So that has to happen before you make your big 5-year out strategy plans.
Finding the connection points. I can't beat that loud enough, right? Finding the right places to be, and finding the right tools to administer to get there. So when Erica talks about the platform and all its tentacles, and right now finding the pieces that can plug in and make sense, and then finding the pieces and parts that make the most sense for your brand, right? Because every brand acts differently. I mean, a mayonnaise is going to act different than a sneaker, or is going to act different than a car. And the way that you're developing whatever your product may be is also going to be about where it's going to show up, right? And I think that you have to think about the long term of how the role of technology in building that engagement and that experience that's going to further your brand. So it doesn't have to be technology for technology's sake. It has to be about how are you going to embrace technology to further who you are, right? And connect. And I can't say enough about connections and the human experience. That's what I do in marketing. It's my job to find out how to embrace a behavior, influence a behavior, or change behavior. And that's how we get people to buy. So I think that anybody that's out there building a plan needs to understand what are those levers they're going to pull. So test and learn, right? And find the right places in which the audiences that you want, or the audiences you don't want, or the audiences you want to invite are going to be. And figure out how to use it, and whether that's a phone, a screen, a video, whatever it might be. I think that's going to be the critical piece of understanding what you're going to do in the next 3 to 5 years.